What you just witnessed is not a Hollywood movie. It is Iran's fortified underground ammunition depot in Isfahan, completely wiped out by a chain of explosions from deep within the earth. The bomber had already turned back, before the first flames even erupted. We are now in week 5 of a hypothetical military campaign called Epic Fury, where 13,000 targets have been destroyed, and 80% of Iran's air defense network has been effectively neutralized. Global media would immediately rush to credit stealth killers, like the F-35 or the B-52 Spirit. But the reality behind those headlines is a remarkable deception. The aircraft relentlessly operating over Iranian skies each night does not launch from secret bases or advanced supercarriers, but quietly departs from a rural airfield in the United Kingdom. And it is a 70-year-old machine. Yes, the B-52. So old that, in some cases, the grandparents of today's pilots had not even been born when it first rolled off the production line. Yet here lies the paradox that confounds military experts. The B-52 has a radar cross-section comparable to a small warship, making it one of the most visible targets in the U.S. Air Force inventory. Meanwhile, Iran's entire air defense network is specifically designed to detect and destroy targets exactly like this. So what magic allows a non-stealth bomber to penetrate deep underground targets, strike with precision, and return safely? Let Airpower Control unravel this never-before-reported physics paradox. To truly understand why the U.S. military must drag a decades-old B-52 into the battlefield instead of relying on cutting-edge stealth platforms, we need to examine the strategic calculus imposed by Iranian airspace. According to expert analysis, U.S. military planners are not contending with one, but two fundamentally opposing physical equations within the same campaign. In the early phase, when the enemy's air defense network remains intact, the requirement is a platform capable of long-range strikes from outside lethal zones. But as radar systems are neutralized in subsequent weeks, a second problem emerges. The U.S. needs to deliver massive warheads heavy enough to penetrate reinforced underground bunkers. At this point, even the Pentagon's most advanced aircraft reveal their limitations under dual demands. Take the stealth fighter F-35A. It is indeed a ghost in the sky, capable of slipping past enemy radar, yet it suffers a fatal constraint: payload capacity. Its internal bays can carry only 2 JASSM missiles per sortie. Faced with a campaign targeting 13,000 objectives, relying on the F-35A is essentially a drop in the ocean. What about the Tomahawk cruise missile? While it excels at safe long-range strikes, its $2 million price tag per missile comes with a critical flaw. The warhead is far too light, roughly 700 pounds. This is less than half the mass required by a 2,000-pound BLU-109 penetrator to breach concrete bunker lids. Firing a $2 million missile just to scratch the surface of reinforced concrete is a physics-driven disaster. Other notorious bombers show similar shortcomings. The supersonic B-1B Lancer can carry 5,000-pound GBU-72 penetrators, but these are specifically designed for deeply buried missile silos under solid granite. For ordinary industrial targets, the military doesn't need to tunnel through the earth. It needs to saturate a wide area with overwhelming ordnance. Even the stealthy B-52 Spirit, capable of reaching any target in the opening week, solves only half the problem. Stealth alone does not address the full operational requirement: a platform that can both strike from a distance and deliver massive payloads efficiently. That is precisely the moment the B-52H claims its place in glory. It's not because it boasts futuristic technology, but because of its enormous internal capacity that the B-52 can carry up to 20 JASSM missiles, or dozens of GBU-31 bunker-busting bombs, adjusting its loadout depending on the attitude of enemy air defenses. This 70-year-old machine is the only platform in the Epic Fury campaign capable of solving both physical equations simultaneously. It demonstrates a harsh truth. In modern warfare, adaptability and sheer firepower can be more formidable and effective than billion-dollar stealth coatings. But before diving deeper into Epic Fury, let's look back at the B-52's combat history to appreciate its astonishing durability. The B-52 has participated in nearly every major U.S. conflict since World War II. During the Vietnam War, it executed massive bombing campaigns like Arclight and Linebacker II. In Operation Desert Storm in 1991, nearly 70 B-52G crews flew 1,741 sorties, totaling 15,269 combat hours and dropping over 27,000 tons of bombs, about 30% of the coalition's total ordnance, with only a single aircraft lost to non-combat accidents. Subsequent campaigns in Iraq, 2003, Afghanistan, and against ICE saw the B-52 continuously provide close air support and precision strikes. These achievements prove that this vintage and airframe is not only durable across decades but has been continuously upgraded to meet modern warfare demands. Look closely at the silhouette of this legendary machine, and you'll see a striking contrast between its seemingly crude design and its devastating modern capability. Many B-52s in service today were assembled before the grandparents of today's pilots were even born. Its design defies the sleek stealth aerodynamics of the 21st century, featuring a radar cross-section comparable to a small warship, blatantly conspicuous, the largest and most cumbersome bomber in the U.S. fleet. When it takes off, its 8 massive turbofan engines roar in unison, producing a sound ground crews describe as a terrifying mix of a freight train's screech and rolling thunder. Yet the B-52's design philosophy is brutally practical. It sacrifices stealth and speed to maximize range and payload. By accepting being a blazing beacon on enemy radar, it gains a stomach capable of carrying a highly sophisticated weapons loading system. Thanks to internal weapons bay upgrades, a B-52H can carry up to 20 missiles or smart bombs per sortie. Mechanically, 8 are neatly mounted on automated rotary launchers inside the bay, while the remaining 12 hang from heavy-duty pylons under the wings. In terms of cost-effectiveness, the B-52 proves its enduring value. Inexpensive to operate, yet lethally efficient. According to U.S. Air Force and GAO data, the operating cost per flight hour of a B-52H is only around $70,000 to $88,000, far lower than a B-2 Spirit, which costs $150,000 to $169,000 per hour, and even cheaper than many other aircraft. The original production cost of each B-52 was roughly $84 million, $2012, and continuous upgrade programs allow it to remain highly effective without the billion-dollar investments required for stealth platforms. This is why the B-52 is expected to remain combat-ready through 2050 and beyond. Its purely practical design, focused on enormous payload capacity, has turned the B-52 into a mobile arsenal, capable of solving 2 completely opposing physical problems within the same campaign using 2 different types of weapons. During the first 2 weeks, while Iran's air defense network remained intact, the B-52 had to solve the survival equation through distance. It would approach a target location 500 miles from Iran's border and then immediately halt, knowing that the radar of the S-300PM U-2 system could see it as a blazing beacon across the night landscape. However, the enemy missile range could not reach this distance, creating a safe buffer that made the B-52 effectively untouchable. From this critical standoff line, the aircraft unleashed 20 stealth AGM-158 BJASSM-ER cruise missiles. These marvels of technology are constructed from specialized composites to minimize radar cross-section, fly in complete radio silence, emitting no active electromagnetic signals, and rely solely on infrared sensors to stealthily locate and destroy targets. They traversed 500 miles and penetrated an additional 120 miles deep into Iranian territory. But the cost of stealth is brutal. Roughly $2.6 million per missile. With 20 missiles released per sortie, the B-52 burned $52 million in ordnance alone. Dropping $52 million per flight is an unsustainable expense, but this is precisely where the B-52's flexibility comes to the rescue for the Pentagon. By the 5th week of operations, with 80% of Iran's air defense neutralized, the B-52 began using GBU-31 variant 3 bombs, designed with a BLU-109 penetrator for effective destruction of reinforced targets. The bomb drops from high altitude. Focused kinetic energy allows it to pierce concrete, with an FMU-143 fuse activating the explosion after penetration. This shift from stealth missiles to penetrator bombs not only enhanced tactical effectiveness but also alleviated supply chain pressures, reducing costs significantly to about $30,000 per munition and a total sortie cost of $600,000. The B-52, a 70-year-old bomber, exemplifies efficiency not only in striking targets but also in logistical operations with limited ordnance. It transforms carpet bombing into a calculated blend of physics and economics that outmatches stealth platforms. The operational record highlights its effectiveness, particularly during the Epic Fury campaign, with thousands of precise strikes on over 13,000 targets. The B-52's deployment from RAF Fairford allows for significantly reduced flight times and increased sortie rates, enhancing firepower while stressing adversary air defenses. However, despite the suppression of many air defense systems by stealth aircraft, a notable 20% remains operational, posing ongoing threats to the B-52. In addition, the surface-to-air missile systems were not fixed at large radar stations, but dispersed across small, decentralized units underground. For a massive platform with an extremely strong radar signature like the B-52, the sky at this stage could only be considered suppressed, never truly safe in the literal sense. Even in the fifth week, a B-52 could never operate alone. When it penetrated deep into enemy airspace to release free-fall bombs, it still required continuous electronic warfare coverage to create a jamming shield, and it had to be escorted by fighter aircraft. A single minute of negligence or straying outside, the protective formation would allow a lurking radar system on the ground to obliterate this 70-year-old tool instantly. So, what is the core lesson from the Epic Fury campaign? The truth is, the B-52 did not change its structure, nor did it magically become stealthy. The surrounding battle dictated its effectiveness. The B-52 is not the oldest bomber merely because it is durable, but because it is the most flexible strike platform ever built. In a single 5-week campaign, it used the same airframe, launched from the same base, carried the same crew, yet seamlessly solved two completely opposite physics problems on the battlefield. Modern airspace wrote two equations, one about standoff distance in the first week, and one about kinetic penetration energy in the final week. The B-52 coldly solved both. It demonstrates that, in war, the ability to adapt rapidly to changing threat networks is the ultimate weapon. And undoubtedly, the bloody equations of future conflicts have already begun to be written. After 5 weeks and 13,000 targets, the Isfahan munitions depot was devastated by the B-52, which proved its effectiveness despite being a 70-year-old machine. Initially, Iran's extensive air defense efforts seemed to impede the B-52, but once breached, it carried out widespread destruction. The B-52's flexibility, low operational costs, and capability to carry large payloads raise questions about its value compared to advanced stealth aircraft. As military dynamics evolve, the B-52's relevance in future conflicts, particularly against more sophisticated air defenses, remains a topic for further exploration and discussion. And if this video quenched your thirst for weapons knowledge, fuel the channel with a like, a share, and most importantly, subscribe with the notification bell to never miss our next hard-hitting airpower analysis. Thank you for following Airpower Control. See you at the next hotspot.